recording. Sam, Gary, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to be here, Jeff. Thanks for having us.
This is
Thanks.
This is the pure pandemic filming episode. We got cats and I got kids running around. It's always fun. But
Yeah.
We're really excited to have you guys join us today and give us some visibility into what CDW is doing in the world of cloud. Specifically, obviously, we're a little more interested in what you're doing with AWS in particular. But before we get into that, if you could just do us a favor, introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about yourself, your role with the business, and that would be great to just kick it off from there.
Sounds good.
Sure,
Why don't you go ahead, Gary?
Yeah, I'll start. Gary Gauthier. I'm a field solutions architect here at CDW, and actually one of our first architects, part of our AWS practice. I started at CDW about 11 years ago. Took a short break, left for a managed services startup, and came crawling back to the CDW world and helped start our cloud practice here at CDW. So pretty strong track record in starting new business units within the large organizational machine that CDW is.
Excellent. Thank you. Sam.
Yeah, and Sam Linton. I've been with CDW roughly 10 years. I'm a former customer in the Midwest, in the Wisconsin area, out of Madison, and actually got involved with CDW from a job standpoint after some large migration projects that they did for me back in the day, and just great group of people that are still, most of them are still with the company today, and stepped in as an FSA or a field solution architect, as Gary was, and then moved into a leadership role about 6 years ago, and was part of our software group and moved over to our AWS group to continue to help grow the pre-sales business around AWS services and managed services a few months back.
Excellent. Thank you both for that. I appreciate it. But, you know, the big question is that CDW has been in the business of helping customers with their IT needs for over 35 years. And we're all familiar with CDW. Most everyone who's going to be viewing this is pretty familiar with CDW's history. But we know that the cloud obviously is a relatively new entrant into the IT industry itself. And CDW, from a corporate directive, has established a pretty significant pathway of building out an AWS practice. If I could just ask you a simple question, why is that the case? Why have you decided to run in that direction and partner so deeply with AWS?
Sure. So I'll take a stab at it, and then Gary, you can jump in. How's that work?
Perfect.
So I've been involved with just the various cloud solutions within CDW now for probably the last 4 or 5 years, as it went from its infancy to being disruptor to now almost being mainstream for the world. And as CDW has continued to grow, especially from that legacy of 35 years of shipping boxes to doing professional services, managed services, and then to the future with our customers. One is that if you're not talking, whether it's AWS, since that's the dominant platform out there for most customers, you're already missing part of your business, right, from that perspective. So if you can't have that conversation, that's really kind of our first step to say we need to be able to cover these types of conversations with our customers. It does lead to what you called out, being able to stay relevant. And then from there, how do we leverage what we know how to do best, which is evolve with the times, continuing to figure out how our past and present business models can continue to grow and blend together. So from my perspective, that's kind of the road that I've been on with it and where I see it, and how we can continue to have conversations with customers that, you know, if you're not doing it, then they're usually talking to somebody else. So Gary, I'll let you add any of your experience to that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And Sam says customers a lot, and that's exactly why we've placed big bets with AWS and cloud in general. Our customers have asked us to develop expertise and deliver cloud solutions to them. And quite frankly, they expect us to. They expect us to know their data center footprint, their infrastructure, and as infrastructure has evolved to be on-premise, in colo, and really anywhere, whether it's AWS or any other cloud, they expect us to carry that infrastructure knowledge as it relates to their business as data center solutions evolve. And that's exactly what we've done by placing a bet on AWS and partnering with AWS.
Excellent. I appreciate that, both of you. So we're in this COVID phase right now of an interesting time. Well, I have the dog barking upstairs. Fun. With that said, I'm trying to understand, and I would love to get some more insight from you. What specifically are you doing with your customers right now in this COVID experience to help enable them to make better decisions as it relates to their adoption of AWS?
Yeah, Chip, I can take that one first. And if it's not your dog, it's going to be my 2-year-old running in the room. So no worries there. But I think the biggest thing for us in terms of helping our customers through any tough time is we're always there. You mentioned 35-year track record earlier, and that's exactly what we bring to the table. Our customers have got used to us being there for them in good times and bad times. And, we get business from our customers just by checking in and making sure they're okay. And those deep relationships go a long way. But specifically as it relates to AWS, a lot of it is our joint speed to market. Between CDW's procurement relationships within our customer base and AWS's technology, something like AppStream, we've been able to help customers ramp up very quickly with their work home initiatives during this COVID pandemic.
Excellent. Thank you, Gary. What are your thoughts, Sam?
Yeah, so really just kind of to add on to what Gary covered there, and this goes back to what you called out at the beginning, Chip, which is that 35-year history, right? We have a lot of sales, internal resources. Many of them have been here for 10, 20, 25 years. We have a ton of long tenured people that have real relationships with a lot of the customers that they've supported over the years. And between that and the value that CDW brings of being able to cover 99% of everything in a customer's environment, from what they use to get to the outside to how they even get that set up from a solution standpoint, and being able to blend various technologies and solutions together with expertise in each one, is really kind of our hallmark of being able to come into a customer and react to nearly any situation that they may have. And the way that relates back into how Gary was calling out with AWS as a platform, it gives us that deep just knowledge of what is the customer experiencing, what pain points are they having throughout their organization, how can we best position the solutions and the platform itself that AWS brings to bear for that customer, and figure out what's the best mix of that, along with anything else that we may have already been doing with the customer across the rest of their environment. And that's where our strength lies, is being able to really cover that broader conversation and blend cloud with their existing world.
Excellent. That's an incredibly valuable discussion and a position to be in, to be able to provide that kind of insight. So as a leading managed services provider, Just curious, how are you helping your customers with cloud cost containment? Gary, if you want to take that one first.
Yeah, good question, and it's a topic that's even more important with the results of COVID and in the uncertainties in the market. Customers want to make sure that all operations within their organization, including IT, is buttoned up in terms of costs. And cost containment and cost control is at the foundation of all of our managed services offerings. And like most of our customers, we are very tool rich at CDW. The AWS platform is very tool rich, but the missing component is really that person and that human touch to bring expertise to the table and interpret the data that a tool might output and give a customer recommendations around the AWS savings plan that is being recommended, or the reserved instances that are being recommended, or the right sizing output that a tool might provide. It's sitting down one-on-one with a technical account manager and going through that data and picking different workloads out to potentially act on that particular data. So we really try to bring that human element to the table through managed services. And then in addition to that, there's a lot that we can do with a customer that hasn't necessarily moved to the cloud yet and wants to cut costs around their on-prem infrastructure. There's a lot of things that we do on the pre-sale side of the house that's pro bono for our customers to assess their workloads and really see if there are cost savings opportunities that AWS might be able to help out with long term.
Great, Gary. Thank you. Sam, what are your thoughts on that? Sam?
My experience around it, if you can hear me.
Yeah, you're back now.
The work from home scenario, right? So from my standpoint, it's really our answer to that consumerization of business, which is what cloud really introduced to the world. When you look at the history of technology and platforms within business and organizations as a whole, when we go from individual boxes running everything to high levels of virtualization, the move to cloud really comes from a initial step standpoint is relatively painless. It's really just addressing fears around what is this going to do for me, and am I going to have that job from an IT perspective, et cetera, or maybe it's security, depending on what industry they're in. But what generally ends up happening is, because it's so easy and seamless and groups are able to go out and almost do some of it on their own, like business groups within an organization without IT even realizing it, especially in today's world where people are working from home, and it's much more difficult for an organization to say, how do I manage that and keep our data safe while enabling the user to do what they were able to do when they were within our walls. That ability to help manage that service, point out some of these, the different levels of managed services that we have, where the one where we're helping just them understand what their cost overruns are, or where maybe they're underutilizing, up through remediation and being able to assist those IT departments that are very thin. And in today's world, where so much of our economy is underwater, right? Where, people are questioning, am I going to have a job tomorrow? Is the business still going to be working? It becomes even more important around that cost management, whether they're surviving well or whether they're the ones that have been at home without a paycheck for several months. They all need to address the same needs, and that's where our ability to step in and help manage that, as well as provide services around areas where they can improve or can find efficiencies, that really kind of comes to the forefront. So that's really my take around that it's the users want to be able to do whatever they want, wherever they are, no matter what they're doing. you have to have a way to actually control that. And IT departments across the country, that's not how they grew up on it.
Yeah. Well, I got to tell you guys, I really appreciate you joining the POV. What I'd like to do, if you're okay with this, I'd love to have you both come back and we can do an encore presentation and dive a little deeper into what you see the relationship between CDW and AWS growing into. What does that roadmap look like for both, not only your organization, ours, but most importantly, our customers? So if you're open to that, I'd appreciate it. You good with that?
Love to. Yeah, you bet.
Of
Good,
course.
good.
Anytime.
Excellent. I appreciate it. Hey guys, you have a great rest of your week and thank you very much for joining us. Take care.
Thanks for having us, Chip.
Bye-bye.
Mhm.